Hello, welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Monday, December 16th, and we've got our second podcast of the day. It is episode 449 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. Wanted to make a quick episode here, giving some thoughts on the New York Jets concluding their first general manager interview with Thomas Dimitroff earlier today. Obviously, the Jets fired Joe Douglas during the bye week. Robert Saleh already gone. So looking ahead to 2025 and want to really dive right into it here. Quick episode, just giving you some of my thoughts. Some names came out the other day. John Robinson, Louis Riddick, two guys that the New York Jets are potentially interested in. Two guys that I think they will probably end up interviewing. But this was their first interview. Thomas Dimitroff. Now, where we sit right now in the season, of course, sitting here middle of December with 3 weeks to go, the Jets with both head coach and general manager candidates are in kind of a tricky situation where they can start to look at names, start to gather names and get a head start on the process. But for guys that are currently employed by NFL teams can interview. Thomas Dimitroff is one of those guys now that is not currently employed by an NFL team. Same thing with John Robinson. Of course, same thing with Louis Riddick as well. So those are some names that you can see pop up. Dimitroff is the first one here. And I think a lot of Jets fans, this should at least be like, it's a solid first name, I think. I've said this many times. I want a guy with experience. I want a guy that has previous general manager experience. Ideally, you bring in a guy with previous GM experience and previous head coach experience, because I think where we are with this Jets organization, number one, they need to get this hire right. It's one of the biggest hires they have ever made. With where they are with the state of this franchise, you can't put your eggs in the first-time head coach, first-time general manager, unknown basket. When you need a proven guy, you need a guy that you have really a lot of confidence in, a proven track record that he can come in here and change the outlook and change the trajectory of this franchise. They need what Parcells and what he did in those 3 years after Kotite. They need that type of name, that type of person to come in here and completely shift this building around. And I think the best way to do that is by hiring experience. And Thomas Dimitroff, in terms of an experienced GM, I think should be near the top of some Jets fans' lists if you're ranking guys, like a John Dorsey, John Robinson, another name. If we're ranking guys with previous GM experience, I think Thomas Dimitroff should be near the top of your list. And it's a good start for the Jets here from an interview perspective to get his name already in this cycle. He was the Falcons GM from 2008 to 2020. However, he's been in the NFL since 1993. Now, there is part of that. He hasn't been in the NFL since 2020. In 2021, after, his time in Atlanta was up, after 13 seasons, he started an analytics company called Summer Sports, which he's been working for ever since. So that's the only football related stuff he's been doing over the last, 3-4 seasons here. But has NFL experience dating all the way back to 1993, was with the Chiefs for that year as a scout, then went to the Lions as a scout from 1994 to 1997, was with the Browns from 1998 to 2001, and then was with the Patriots from 2002 to 2007. And during his time there, won 2 Super Bowls, and then got his first big opportunity in 2008 with the Falcons, which led him to 13 years of really solid success. His track record is really solid. He's got a very good track record from his time in Atlanta, and I think this is a solid candidate to consider. 6 playoffs over his 13 seasons, 4 playoff wins. He has 1 Super Bowl appearance. Now, I know we all know how that ended, of course, the 28-3, but got to a Super Bowl, 6 postseason berths, 4 wins in the postseason, 6 double-digit win seasons, a total of 7 winning seasons in his career with Atlanta, including the 7th was 2009, where he went 9-7 and missed the postseason. The rest of them all made the playoffs. The one winning season that didn't make the playoffs was his second year, and that was 9-7. That was in 2009. But outside of that, made the playoffs 3 years in a row from 2011 to 2012. A couple years where they missed it from 2013 to 2015, but then got to the Super Bowl in 2016, got back to the divisional round in 2017, won a playoff game, won the wild card game there. An overall successful tenure in Atlanta. A lot of success and a lot of experience there. Been in the NFL since 1993, was a GM for 13 years. I think it's a solid first name to throw out there. You know, some of his draft picks just quickly here, and I don't want to go too in depth on him just because it's one interview and we're still in December. There is going to be a ton of names, a ton of people that the New York Jets interview. Some we're going to like, some we're not going to like. I personally happen to like Thomas Dimitroff. He is one of the guys that I would certainly be open to the New York Jets hiring for all the reasons I've stated. And there's going to be names where us as Jet fans are going to want to close our eyes and hope it doesn't happen. So it's only one interview. It's still December 16th. A lot of time needs to go by. But just some of his draft picks, a little bit of a mixed bag. He had some hits, had some misses, but that's going to happen when you're with a team for 13 years. You're not going to hit on every single one of your draft picks for 13 straight seasons. There's going to be busts in there, but there was a lot of good. He drafted Matt Ryan in 2008. He turned into their franchise quarterback. I know he gave up a haul for Julio Jones, but you're talking about a guy that's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. So if you give up a haul and trade up for a guy you like, he better work out. And Julio Jones worked out for Atlanta. He was an all-time great for that franchise and a guy that will end up as a gold jacket player. He also had Calvin Ridley, Chris Lindstrom, A.J. Terrell in his last draft. So definitely hit on some players, definitely some success drafting. There were certainly some misses in there. Jets fans are familiar with Tack McKinley. That, of course, was missed. But overall, was solid from a talent evaluation perspective. And when you're there for 13 years, like I said, I would say he had more hits than misses, especially when you look at Julio Jones, Matt Ryan, guys like that set up the foundation of that franchise and set up the success right when he got in. First pick was Matt Ryan. Boom, you hit on the quarterback year one. And then goes out there and trades up for Julio Jones. You give him a haul, you got to be correct. He made the right pick there. So let me know what you think about Thomas Dimitroff down below. First general manager hire or interview, rather, in the books. And it's a guy with plenty of experience. I'll have more content coming your way. Plan on doing a video on some of the John Robinson, Louis Riddick reports. So we'll talk about that. Sure, I'll discuss a little bit more as well on Thomas Dimitroff. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. As always, until next time, Jets, Jets, Jets.